Almost underway. Welcome to the final of GP Seville, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you are around the world watching the coverage here. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the very last match we have for you this weekend. Riley Knight's in the booth. I'm joined by Marijn Leibert from Belgium and, of course, Immanuel Gerschenson from Germany. So good to have your company here today, fellas. As we get underway with the final, as I say, we've got Abzan Aggro in the hands of Pierre Sommen on the left. On the right of your screen, Immanuel Gerschenson, blue-black control. These guys have found their way all the way to the top tables in what has been a fantastic weekend, showcasing the real diversity of the format at the moment. Both of these players starting off with a couple of lands, and we see a creature already on the part of Abzan Aggro. Sommen playing the full four Fleece main lines. We see one hitting the bin. Also 4 Rakshasa Death Dealers. Simon, we were talking about the role that the Abzan Aggro deck plays against the blue-black control, able to punish any sort of stumble or fumble on the part of the blue-black control deck. How important is it for the Abzan Aggro to come out of the gates with a strong start and put some pressure on?
Yeah, the true drop is huge. Even though Gerschenson was able to pileblood it, interestingly, a no tap land draw from Gerschenson, which could be a sign for Sommen that there might be lands missing from Gerschenson's hand. And I fully expect Sommen to just continue powering out creatures, Rakshasa Death Dealers, Anaphens are the foremost, and then top it off with Siege Rhinos.
And that Thoughtseize is going to clear the way at least a little bit in removing some of the cards from Gerschenson's hand. We see a Disdainful Stroke, a Crux of Fate, a Pearl Lake Ancient, and a couple of lands as well. What are your thoughts here on this Thoughtseize, Marijn, and what would you be picking?
Yeah, I think I would be picking the Crux of Fate here. The Pearl Lake Ancient is a long way from being cast. Disdainful Stroke is fine, but once you know it, you can play around it. So I think I'd go for the mass removal and just try to win with my 2 drops and 3 drops.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Rakshasa Death Dealer matches up pretty well against Wrath effects, but all the same, nice not to have to worry about a sweeper clearing your board, especially when you're playing a creature-based deck. So yes, indeed, away goes the Crux of Fate. A good call there from Marijn, as you've come to expect. Here's 2 mana, and here is the aforementioned Rakshasa Death Dealer. A card, Zimon, that is equally good on drawing it on turn 2 or on turn 6, 7, or 8.
That's one of the great things about the 8 true drops that Abzan Aggro has available. Once you have 7 mana, you can immediately monsters the Fleece main line. Once you have 6 or 8 mana, Rakshasa Death Dealer is one of the strongest 2 drops around.
And the added resiliency coming in with that regeneration clause, and allowing the Rakshasa Death Dealer to really get some work done, as we see Anaphens to the foremost joining the party.
And what we saw here was Pierre Sommen clearly, knowingly, expertly playing around Disdainful Stroke.
Yes, with a Siege Rhino in his hand, very, very deftly blanking one of the cards in Gerschenson's hand as he resolves an undercosted 4/4 beater. Sommen untaps. He's going to crack a fetch in his upkeep. Let's find out what's inside. We're going to grab a forest or a plains.
I think he wants a forest here, so he's able to use all of that for the Rakshasa Death Dealer.
A very good point. I mean, that Urborg is giving him black mana regardless of what he fetches, but it is in fact a plains. So, fetching out a plains that can handily tap for black mana, as we say. But perhaps Marijn, as you mentioned, might have been better for him to get a forest.
He does have 3 Wingmate rocks, so he needs double white as well if he wants to play these. So that might make a little bit of sense.
Currently, he is able to pump or activate Rakshasa Death Dealer twice.
Yeah, because the plains gives Urborg gives the plains black mana, and he's got double green anyway.
So the Rakshasa Death Dealer being pumped up, but by a different fashion. The Anaphens are the foremost, popping a +1/+1 counter on that cat. But then, of course, another pump effect coming to the way of the Death Dealer with Sommen opting to make it into a 5/5. Those are some respectable beats.
And then just keeping up exactly the mana you need to regenerate. There's no reason to play it scared and try to hold up the regeneration twice. but rather you're just happy with how things are going. Immanuel Gerschenson down to 9, and you know that Pearl Deck Ancient is not being able to be cast this turn. Disdainful Stroke hasn't found a target the whole game. This is looking great for Pierre.
Yeah, Sommen really putting pressure on the control player, not stumbling and making sure that Gerschenson is put under the gun in a very, very timely fashion, and that's exactly what this Abzan deck is attempting to do.
Yeah, with all the 2-drops, it certainly is very fast, and now it's just game over. Immanuel Gerschenson actually drew a second copy of Disdainful Stroke. He's all the cards in hand he cannot use, so there we go, we have the concession.
That will do it. So Pierre Sommen one step closer to claiming a GP championship. Immanuel Gerschenson already has one to his name, as does Sommen, of course. So both of these boys, hungry hippos, searching for their second GP title. Consulting the deck list that they're up against. Sommen shaking out some of those nerves. Gerschenson, quietly reflective, consulting his 15. We've got access to the deck list in front of us, Simon. You want to talk to us, please, about the blue-black list and some of the options it has in post-sideboarded games?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the main deck, and there's no big surprises there. A 2-2-2 split on Crux of Fate, Ashiok, Nightmare Weaver, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Only a single Pearl Deck Ancient in the main deck, and the 3 Jace's Ingenuity is huge for Immanuel the whole tournament. Now, cards I'm looking at in the sideboard are a third Crux of Fate, and then some cards that I don't really expect to make a big appearance. Drowning Sorrow is just not effective enough against the creatures of the Abzan aggro deck. So Gerschenson has the option to go for more Ashioks, more Crux of Fates. Could run some Thought Seizes, but I'm not convinced that's the way you want to go. And then finally, Tazigor's a second Perilous Vault and a Murderous Cut if he wants to go control.
Yeah, well, sort of latching onto that control route, not exactly where you may want to be against blue-black control, which against the Abzan aggro, you can't go too hard control when you're being faced down by 2/2s and 3/3s as early as turn 2. So we've also got the Abzan aggro sideboard in front of us, Marine. What are some of the options that Sommen will be looking at?
Pierre Sommen has some powerful cards to sideboard. He's got more Planeswalkers, Sorin, Solemn Visitor, an extra copy. He's got Liliana Vess, he's got Nissa Worldwaker. He can certainly use a fourth copy of Courser of Krufix and a fourth copy of Thoughtseize. So he's got like 5 or 6 cards which he wants to be bringing. Cards he wants to take out, probably that's going to be the single Bile Blight. He's certainly going to cut that one. And apart from that, maybe Hero's Downfall, maybe Wingmate Rock because it's a little bit expensive, and the Hair of the Wilds, but that's another 2-drop. I don't think he's going to sideboard out any 2-drops.
That's interesting what you're saying, because if Gerschenson, who knows the deck list, is expecting multiple Planeswalkers to make an appearance, then the 2 negates definitely look more interesting all of a sudden. Also, something to consider is that Perilous Vault is still the best answer against Planeswalkers. And Immanuel, expecting all this pressure from Sommen, might want to take out the Ashioks. I've seen him utilize those against Green Devotion, but Green Devotion is a bit slower out of the gates, and then you get real haymakers. If Immanuel Gerschenson gets the Ashiok but faces off opposing Planeswalkers, that could be an easy way to lose a game, and then the match is over.
Yeah, Ashiok really shining in those matchups where, you know, a Haunted Queen can come down or something like that. But I mean, if you're weaving a nightmare involving a Fleece Mainline against an opposing board of 2-drops, it may not be where you want to be. So an astute observation there, maybe Ashiok might be hitting the board.
The big thing is that if you tap out for Ashiok on turn 3, then your opponent has an opening to drop another threat before you're even close to casting Crux of Fate, for example. Against Mono Green Devotion, if they have 4 mana, whatever they play is not going to put you under too much pressure, because 5 is the sweet spot where the Nissas and the Whisperwood Elementals come down.
Yeah, for sure. So an interesting tapestry here for these 2 gentlemen to navigate as they shuffle up and deal for the second game of the final. I'm so pleased to have your company with us for the final of Grand Prix Seville. It's been a true pleasure to bring the coverage to Magic fans, young and old, around the world.
And Pierre Sommen, he's got 1 hour and 30 before his flight leaves.
So he's on the clock.
Yeah, he's on the clock. He won a very quick game 1. He's certainly happy about that one, hoping to repeat that in game 2.
Gerschenson, of course, no stranger to long games, although we were commenting, Simon, about his blistering pace of play, something that's really, really crucial, especially in the limited time rounds of the Swiss. Blue-black control, not a deck that can close games out quickly necessarily, and especially if you're wanting to play optimally and certainly guarantee yourself the highest percentage of winning, it's certainly a very time-intensive deck.
Especially if your opponents don't concede because they have nothing to lose. So is Pierre just waiting for his cab outside then? So just jumping into the cab once he gets the trophy, no matter if it's we don't know if it's this first or the second place trophy.
Actually, he already took a picture with the trophy because we would say 5 minutes of time if he manages to win. If he loses, then we just throw away the picture. But we will still have to do this interview. He's got to come into the.
He's got to come in and have a chat if he manages to get out the gates like he did last time. Look at that start. Is that a triple Thoughtseize hand?
It's triple Thoughtseize, only one land, but I think you could keep this kind of hand. What do you think?
Krufix, Liliana, and Wingmate Rock.
It's a little bit expensive behind the Thoughtseizes.
But it's on the draw as well.
Yep.
I really like this hand. You just destroy Gerschenson's hand, no matter what he has. You flood him with the lands that he certainly is holding, and then on the draw, I think you can find the third land to get the cursor going, and then everything is fair game.
For sure, and especially if a Wingmate Rock comes down, that puts a lot of pressure very quickly on Gerschenson. I mean, he will have answers to it, admittedly, but still, it's a very respectable creature that's able to put some pressure on. But Sommen decides against that approach. He's not going to go for the triple Thoughtseize.
If my flight was in 1.5 hours, I would definitely keep that hand.
So Sommen down to 6 now. We'll see if his deck's going to treat him a little better when it comes to dealing with this mulligan here. I'm glad to see blue-black control back on the map. We've talked about the impact that Fate Reforged cards have had on the standard format, and I think between Crux of Fate and other cards like Silumgar and Ugin, of course, some of these huge dragons, it's good to see blue-black control really putting up some numbers.
Apart from the fact that I'm not a big fan at all of the blue-black control deck, I do think it's a pretty good deck in this format, and I do think it matches up well against the format.
So Gerschenson leading off with a dismal backorder. That's going to gain him a life as he shifts the turn over to Sommen. Sommen's hand looking a little bit more land loaded this time. I see a Hero's
He kept 5 lands in Elspeth.
5 lands in Elspeth and rips a Hero's Downfall off the top. He's considering his option when it comes to his first land. Here's the Sandstep Citadel. Gerschenson passing the turn. No 2-drop. A Scribe for Sommen. What has he found? It's going below decks. My suspicion is it was a land. Gerschenson draws a card. It's a dismal backwater straight off the top. Gain 1 life. Ship it back to Sommen. He finds another Sandstep Citadel. Well, he's got the lands to cast Elspeth. There's Old Mate Fleecy at the top. It's a Fleece Mane Lion. And on the top it stays as well.
It's a spell for a change.
What's the life expectancy of that Fleece Mane Lion?
It could actually stick around. It's only a 3/3 and Gerschenson is on 22, so if he wants to get some value with mass removal, he could actually, like with the Perilous Vault, he could let the Fleece Mane Lion stick around and force someone to expose another threat to the table.
I don't agree. The life expectancy is gonna be a half a turn. Because if you let Pierre Sommen untap with 5 mana, he's just gonna Monstrosity, and then you are the one that has to use 2 removal spells.
But you have a Perilous Vault in play.
But the Perilous Vault can die, although I'm not sure.
It exiles.
Yeah, I understand. But does Pierre have any answers to the Perilous Vault? No, he doesn't. So you were right. 1-0 for Zima.
Are we keeping count?
Yeah.
I thought you'd given up a long time ago.
Do you have an overall life tally of that?
Yeah, it's like 5-3 for me.
Oh, right, I see. That sounds.
For this tournament, it's 1-0 to Simon.
Sounds highly plausible. Here's a Windswept Heath, 5th land out for Sommen. So an indestructible hexproof 4/4, matching up rather poorly against the mythic artifact from M15.
Also, and that's not irrelevant, it's not easy to play. if you're sitting there, your control play opponent has this Perilous Vault and is not doing anything, what do you do? And some not even monstrosing at the end of turn.
Gerschenson missing a land there as well. That's got to hurt, because the control player really wanting to hit 7, 8, 9 land, maybe even playing a land every turn until the end of the game. There is Perilous Vault. Very, very mana hungry card, but a powerful effect that you get for it.
Yeah, Sommen is threatening a Planeswalker, so if Gerschenson sacrifices the Perilous Vault, then Sommen could punish him with a Planeswalker. However, if Gerschenson doesn't do anything, then Sommen can't deploy anything to the board either.
And that's a nice one for Sommen. He leaves a Thoughtseize on top, Maroon.
These delayed Thoughtseizes have been we've seen them more in the top 8 than in the Swiss rounds, and I think that shows why these people are in the top 8. It's only a tiny thing, but timing the Thoughtseizes to actually resolve your spells is huge.
Well, if you only draw it as your 15th card, I guess you got no other choice than timing it in like turn 7 or 8. But
I'm still surprised that some didn't want the triple Thoughtseize draw. I thought that looked really nice.
In comes the Fleece main line once again.
It looked like some wanted to Thoughtseize first, but you just continue attacking as you've done the whole time.
And there is the card we're discussing, a rare from Theros, 3/3 with an activated ability, of course. It can become hexproof and indestructible. And look at those luscious locks, Maroon. Meow. A cat after your own heart. I can see your hair's approaching that length as well, my friend. Well, it doesn't have the luxuriant beauty.
Let's not talk about haircuts, okay?
Because it's an argument you'll lose every time, you know that. Do you know how Neil Rigby described my hair? Fresh to death. He's a man who knows what's up.
Let's talk about this game, not about the haircuts. There we go. Perilous Vault gets activated by Immanuel Gerschenson at the end of turn.
So, away goes the Fleece main line. Gerschenson untaps, draws a card. He's found a Flooded Strand and Ugin in his hand as well, and there's a Bileblight.
Yeah,
Ships the turn, no 6th, 7th land.
Someone realized correctly that he could force Gerschenson to act with that Fleece main line alone. He didn't expose anything else. He didn't even monstrous. He just kept his mana untapped the whole time. And Gerschenson was waiting for Sommen to blink, but when Sommen made no plays, he had to trade the Perilous Vault for a 2-drop.
But why not activate the Fleece main line end of turn?
I think Sommen wanted to trade exactly with the Perilous Vault and not with a Bileblight that Gerschenson would have cost Gerschenson only 2 mana.
Okay. Anaphens the foremost to draw. Sommen thinks about firing off the Thoughtseize. He's going to hold on to it again. But no, reconsiders. There it is, Thoughtseize.
Is he holding 7 cards or 8? Or is it just 7? Just 2 Ugins.
Just 2 Ugins, 2 Bileblights, Hero's Downfall, Crux of Fate, and a Silence the Believers.
But no card advantage and no counters.
No counterspells critically.
So it's funny how only the Hero's Downfall actually handles the Elspeth. This is crucial. If he takes the Hero's Downfall, he's got 2 expensive Ugins, which he's 2 mana off. And then, how is he going to answer the Elspeth?
Yeah, that's a good point. He has 2 Bileblights and Crux of Fate, so he can deal with the soldiers at will. But if Elspeth is allowed to stick around for a few turns, maybe threatening the ultimate, then Gerschenson could be in trouble. I still think that Sommen has to respect these Ugins, but he might have another plan for those.
Sommen hitting the tank, considering his option.
I don't think he has another choice but to take the Hero's Downfall.
Well, indeed, there you go. So another correct call from Marine Laubert. Going to chalk that one up over Zimmon again?
No, he would take that one as well. So
there is the Sun's Champion on your screen. A card very close to my heart, of course. Elspeth Sun's Champion, a very, very powerful planeswalker out of Theros, and there she is slamming into the battlefield. Up to 5 straight away. 3 loyal soldier tokens following in her wake. Here are those aforementioned soldier tokens. Very, very good to see her making an appearance. And Sommen in the driver's seat here with Gerschenson. Very powerful cards in his hand in the form of Ugin into Ugin, but Is it going to be enough?
Hasn't been able to add cards to his graveyard either. He has a Flooded Strand, and he might actually fire off a Bioblade just to get more cards in his graveyard. If he draws a Dig Through Time, he actually wants to be able to cast it and maybe a counterspell as well.
His draw is Perilous Vault.
That's a good draw. That's the answer he was looking for against Elspeth.
Down to 12, thanks to cracking open that Flooded Strand. He'll go and fetch up an island.
He's already at 12, so he's not even that high on life total. He's gonna take 3 from the soldiers unless he's probably gonna Bioblade them. But
Rather
then
conspicuously leaving up Bioblade mana there, yeah.
Yeah, then he kind of wastes the Bioblade, whereas he's probably gonna activate the Perilous Vault anyway in a couple of turns. So he's not really getting any card advantage, but I guess as long as he delays his death, then he will be able to survive and kill his opponent with the Nugan.
So, away go the soldiers. Back to Sommen. He untaps, draws a card for the turn. What's he found? It's a Temple of Malady. So Sommen sort of priced out of playing any more non-land permanents, thanks to that Perilous Vault.
Yeah, on the plus side he doesn't have to, because Elspeth is forcing another activation of Perilous Vault on its own.
His Temple of Malady. Scry 1. What's he found? It's a Sorin Solemn Visitor.
He's certainly keeping that one.
Absolutely.
He's seen how weak Immanuel Gerschenson's hand is against Planeswalker, so he certainly is keeping the Sorin. Is he gonna commit another creature? I don't think he is, because the 2/4 is not even gonna hit him a land on the top. He already played a land anyways. And I don't like playing an Offensa either, because he's going to just lose it to Perilous Vault.
I would be very surprised if he plays another creature here.
There's Sorin Solemn Visitor. You can see there, until your next turn, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain lifelink, but rather more relevant in this matchup, putting a 2/2 Black Vampire with flying onto the battlefield.
Seventh land. That's one short of playing double Ugin.
Ugin into Ugin, such value. There's the Solemn Visitor.
Do you take 3 here as Gerschenson?
Yep. Snap take 3. I mean, 12 or 9. It's like, it doesn't really matter, but you really want to be able to follow your Perilous Vault up with something relevant. Immanuel Gerschenson doesn't have a lot of bad draws here. Land is good, Counterspell is good, card advantage is good, so the only cards that wouldn't be too good are more removal spells, but even these are fine.
But once Elspeth is on 7, you are kind of forced to pop the vault, right?
No, he's gonna pop the vault end of turn, I think.
Yeah, and Sommen knows it as well, so Sommen is not going to expose anything else.
As predicted, away goes the Perilous Vault, and Gerschenson, more or less, by taking 3, forcing Sommen to waste a turn, not committing another threat to the board.
If you're keeping count, Fleece Main Line traded 1-for-1 with Perilous Vault, Elspeth traded 1-for-1 with Perilous Vault, and Bioblight traded 0-1. So Immanuel Gerschenson is basically down cards with his mass removal spells.
Which is more or less exactly the opposite of what those cards attempted to do in recurring value against trading 1-for-1.
Yeah, but Pierre Sommen's draw is that bad that I don't think it's going to matter. Immanuel Gerschenson now found a Dig Through Time as well, so he's going to find the answers he needs. He's going to find lands for Ugin. I don't think Pierre can win this game, but there's still a small chance.
Might be a little too late on the part of the Abzan Aggro player. So we see another Anaffenza on the top of his library.
But Pierre's draw wasn't particularly bad. He had cards he decided not to cast, and then that was pretty much what was going to happen. You draw some lands, some spells.
His draw was bad. He started with 5 lands Elspeth, then drew a card Hero's Downfall, then drew another land. That's a bad draw for an aggro deck.
Bad start.
A bad start.
Would you have kept the first hand?
Well, we're past that, so let's not judge Pierre Sommen on his mulligan decision here.
Ryan Lobert too afraid to go toe-to-toe with Simon Gertzen. He's already a 1-0. He doesn't want to make it any worse for himself. So, Anaffenza the Foremost being committed to the battlefield as well. Here's a Dig Through Time. Pearl Lake Ancient, couple of swamps. Looks like a Hero's Downfall hiding out the back there. A polluted delta remaining in the 5 that go under the library. Yes, indeed. So
it never feels good to pick a land with the dig through time, but if you're holding 2 Ugin, then you're feeling a little bit better about it. The thing is, Ugin on this board, yeah, it's still very good, right? You're -3.
-3 is superb because you have 4 loyalty left, and then you're threatening to either -3 again, you can -4 if needed, or you just shoot 3 damage. It's just super powerful, and you have another one. You don't run into the risk of your opponent maybe going end of turn Abzan charm, draw 2, and then they have double Thoughtseize or something like that. You just play the Ugin and you get the value while you can. We've been talking about how Gerschenson hasn't gotten the best exchanges here, and that's a way to turn that around.
8 mana. Here comes the Spirit Dragon. There we have it. -3, says Gerschenson. Destroy all colored permanents with converted mana cost 3, or exile, I should say. So those cards should be in the exile zone. Get that one fixed up. Of course, the cards, there they are, heading there now. So Sommen, his work cut out for him. He's got to fight his way through an Ugin.
He's still got the Hero's Downfall, but if he uses it, he knows there is a second Ugin coming. So this is bad news for him. It's going to be very hard to win this game, actually, because yeah, he even has to shuffle. I completely agree with shuffling away the threat. He needs to find a Thoughtseize, I think, in this turn. Gets the second copy of Ugin, then destroys the other one, and then plays Planeswalker. Does he have enough mana to do so? No. If he doesn't have enough mana, I think he should go for Hero's Downfall end of turn. Yeah, there we go. He needs to find a... Actually, what would be even better if he finds an Abzan Charm into Thoughtseize and a threat. There we have the Thoughtseize. That was crucial.
That's great.
That's a huge rip.
It's a start. It's not the best. Like, he's still facing Pearl Lake Ancient and Dig Through Time, but at least he got rid of both the Ugins. And now he can use his Planeswalker to make a Vampire token and start trying to accomplish something.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if Hero's Downfall is actually the card that you want to be drawing with Pierre Sommen's deck. It doesn't feel like you're getting a lot of value when you Hero's Downfall Ugin. It seems like you almost have to always be in a position where the pressure is so high on Gerschenson that it just doesn't happen.
That's the problem, because after Ugin you don't have any more pressure always. So Ugin will be there and there won't be any more pressure. Then you gotta deploy some more threats, and then what are you gonna do about
only,
the
only Nissa is basically the one card to punish Ugin here. And it looks like Pierre's deck is just not really built for that. I think you kind of have to draw the Thoughtseizes and hope that the Ugin stays hidden in Gerschenson's library until you can take over.
You're the aggro deck, you just need a quick start. I mean, he's actually taking the Pearl location, which is not a bad choice either, because this way, if he top decks another Hero's Downfall, he might actually leave his opponent without any win condition. How is he going to win without the Ugin and the Pearl location? He sideboarded out the Ashocks. Does he have anything else?
There might be Tazigors after boarding, but those will not generally win the game.
It's not out of the question that they could perhaps regrow some of those huge threats from the graveyard, however.
If Gerschenson brought them in, yes. And then they usually do die pretty fast.
So judge being called at the table, see exactly what that's about. Gerschenson wanting to just have a look through his sideboard, confirming that's okay, and of course, yes it is.
Yeah, and now Immanuel, he has to, if he plays his Planeswalker, he has to -4, and then Pierre Sommen will play a 4/4. The 4/4. I know he doesn't have the unoffense anymore. He actually shuffled it away, so the play I'm mentioning doesn't matter. But if he would be able to follow it up with an unoffensa, then with Ugin at 3, can't actually kill the unoffensa.
But -4 is not the only option. You can also plus it to just shoot 3 damage.
Yeah, but then there's the Vampire token, but I guess the Vampire token doesn't matter. Ooh, interesting. Sommen sideboarded out is rhinos. And he kept all but one downfall. So he's still having 3 downfalls. If he can find a downfall to handle the Ugin, he could still win this game.
Yeah, so we see a downfall, a Bioblight, an Heir of the Wilds, and the 3 rhinos leaving his deck. He puts in Thoughtseize, a Courser of Kufix, not a card I would have expected, and then the 4 Planeswalkers that we talked about. So that's Sorin, Elspeth, Nissa, and Liliana.
You don't agree with the Courser?
It doesn't really fit the aggro style, does it?
It still attacks for 2. With an Anafenza, it attacks for 3. With a Sorin, it attacks for 3, and it gives you a little bit of card advantage.
Gerschenson has actually brought in another Ashiok. He's taken out 2 Dissolves and a Dig Through time, so just some blue spells, and then a second Perilous Vault and a Murderous Cut. So very minimal sideboarding by him.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Immanuel Gerschenson's list, and it looks very good to me. 4 Dissolve, 4 Disdainful Stroke. Not kidding around on these counters. He's got 4 Bile-Blight, 4 Hero's Downfall. Not kidding around on the removal spells, and then he's got 4 Dig Through time. I think his build is very good.
Yeah, and then that's something that's interesting. If someone has the 4 Planeswalkers, then those run into the Disdainful Strokes that Gerschenson's, of course, leaves in. However, if you take out the rhinos, you have less cards to actually draw the Disdainful Strokes out of Gerschenson's hand.
So a Dig Through Time has emptied the graveyard of all but the 2 win conditions we discussed earlier, with the Ugin and the Pearl-like Ancient staying in Gerschenson's graveyard. Along with the Dig Through Time that was just resolved, here is the second Ugin. As we discussed, that Ugin immediately going up and shooting Sorin out of the sky. And Gerschenson ships the turn. We had a Rakshasa Death Dealer added and then removed from the battlefield thanks to a Silence the Believers.
If my flight was in 1 hour, I would concede here. You know, Immanuel Gerschenson has all these removal spells still in hand. He's probably drawn a lot of counters or a card advantage by now. I would scoop and hope to win game 3 in 10 minutes.
Yeah, so someone has a downfall on top of his deck. He kept it with the Temple. If that resolves, he might still be on the plan of just running Gerschenson out of win conditions. He doesn't know how many Ashioks there are after boarding. He doesn't know if there are any Tazagors after boarding.
So Hero's Downfall the draw for Pierre Sommen.
He should say go, and then in response to the Jace's Ingenuity, kill the Ugin. He shouldn't do it in his main phase. He knows that Immanuel Gerschenson is probably going to do something, and if Immanuel doesn't do it, he should do it in the upkeep, as he is
Immanuel
doing right now.
didn't play his Jace's Ingenuity at the end of turn because he knew that something like that could happen.
Yeah, especially since Pierre Sommen kept a card on top of the deck. He knows, why would you keep a card on top that you're not going to play? This doesn't make any sense. I'm going to keep up mana and make sure I can respond to your Hero's Downfall with a Jace's Ingenuity.
Seems to be exactly what's happening. Thinning his deck just a little bit beforehand as we see a polluted Delta Fetch out of basic. 5 lands tapped. This is all in the upkeep of Gerschenson, of course, and it looks like we're going to have Jace's Ingenuity doing its best ancestral recall impression. Although, you know, the cost of 5, it comes at a rather steeper price. 1, 2, and 3 cards going to the hand of Gerschenson. What's he got? That looked like a Tasica to me. There's a Hero's Downfall as well. And a Disdainful Stroke. It wasn't, maybe an Ashiok.
So the downfall resolved.
Yeah, he didn't draw a removal spell. At least he brought in some Ashioks. If he would have cybered them out, he would have been in trouble now. But now the Ashiok should lead him to victory.
He has 3, so running out of win conditions is not the issue here.
Liliana of the West, not bad. Not bad.
Here is Liliana.
Because Gerschenson does. Oh, he does have the Disdainful Stroke. I thought he had no counters at all, but of course now it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, now we're gonna see the scoop. He's gonna try and win. in a very short order and then hope he still makes his plane.
Unfortunately for Sommen, falling to the might of the blue-black control monster, Immanuel Gerschenson managing to cobble together a win there after fighting through some pretty adverse circumstances, you'd have to say.
Well, Pierre's starting hand had 5 lands and Elspeth, so Sommen was already fortunate to draw the Thoughtseize in the right time and to have these good exchanges that he needed. Ultimately, the 2 Ugins in Gerschenson's hand proved too much for Sommen to overcome.
So these blokes hitting their sideboard once again, having a look at the opposing deck lists as we head to our third and final game here. Our final game of the weekend. It's such a shame that all good things must come to an end, but it is the way it goes. As I say, it's been a pleasure to bring you coverage of GP Seville. We've had ups and downs this weekend. We've had laughs, we've had frowns, we've had smiles, we've had tears, but all sorts of stuff going on around Seville as this tournament slowly winds its way towards a conclusion. We have, of course, one champion left to crown. It could be either of the gentlemen on your screen as these wizards get ready for their third and final game.
Both of them hoping to add another GP title to their resume. Pierre Sommen in 2011, he won GP Amsterdam. Immanuel Gerschenson in 2014, he won GP Madrid or GP Milan. I think it was Madrid.
So both of these blokes knowing exactly how good it feels to hoist the trophy and hoping to do it for a second time today.
Talking about the trophy, look at that. Standing right over there. GP Milan champion 2015, waiting up for grabs for both of these players.
Looks like Gerschenson wants to do some more sideboarding, maybe.
Or maybe he's trying to use the time to his advantage. When I'm not sure if he's aware of the fact that Pierre Sommen has to catch a flight. But as long as he sideboards within 3 minutes, he's well within the rules. He can take his time to think about even 1 or 2 cards.
And as we've seen, a single Tezgro can make the difference if you're being run out of victory conditions or not.
Yeah, now that he knows that Pierre actually kept a couple of downfalls, he might want an extra win condition.
Do you agree with Pierre Sommen's sideboarding, and would you keep it the same for Game 3?
I'd probably try to keep in the rhinos because you want to be more aggressive when you're on the play. So I would take out more downfalls, I think. Maybe take out the Cursor of Crucifix, but I'm not sure because you don't play all that many lands and you're still trying to hit 6 lands with the extra Planeswalker. But it seems like he's happy keeping them in the sideboard. He's not going to change them.
In a sense, that also makes his curve and his mana requirements a bit easier to handle.
I mean, what do you prefer to play on turn 4? A Sorin or a Rhino?
I love the Rhino. I also think it's one of the few ways to generate some reach. And if Gerschenson actually drops down to 6 or even 3, then you are suddenly in a position to just win the game with a single spell. Except for Nissa Worldbreaker, which is huge in this matchup, there just isn't anything in the Abzan deck that does that.
Yeah, the Siege Runners are very, very high impact. So it's interesting to see the fact that they've hit the bench for the final game here of GP Seville. Gerschenson in the tank about something. He's really, really going through some hell there.
He's really worried. He needs to win this next match. If he wins, putting a second title behind his name in only 3 months, that would be very strong.
Yeah, he's on that Owen Turtenwald chip.
Well, let's not be too quick here, but if he wins, he's going to have won 2 European Grand Prix, 1 in Modern, 1 in Standard, 1 with a super aggressive deck, 1 with a super control-ish deck, and suddenly when we're talking about Austria, we have to talk about Immanuel Gerschenson, maybe even being the captain for the Worlds.
He's playing very well. I mean, he was playing very quickly when he needed to in the Swiss because he didn't have much time, and now he's taking a little bit more time, really thinking about every play. He knows he has to make the right decision. This time around in the Swiss, he was like, yeah, I need to hurry. Sometimes I can make a suboptimal play as long as I win. And here is like he's making every play count.
And that's what tells us as the coverage that we are looking at a true tournament player. it's not about playing perfectly all the time. It's about really seeing how much time do I have, what is important, what is not, which is kind of what you're doing with the blue-black control deck anyway. What do I counter, what do I not? And Gerschenson, it was really beautiful. He, as you said, he didn't play optimal, and he wouldn't claim that himself, but he played well when he needed to.
In a sense, yeah, without necessarily playing optimally within the game of Magic, he's certainly playing optimally when it comes to winning a tournament. And that is, again, what separates the good players from the great. When you sit down under these conditions and have to win a tournament of Magic, not just a match, being able to apply your skill in a way that's actually going to give you the greatest percentage to winning, to hoisting that trophy.
I actually talked to Immanuel between rounds, and I asked him about the Ashiok Perilous Vault interaction where you can snatch a creature, and then he said, yeah, I just didn't know that. So and he was happy that he learned something about it. Okay, we have the opening hands.
And a pretty good one for Pierre Sommen. He's got 2 Rakshasas, Dead Dealer, and 2 Planeswalkers along with 3 lands.
It's going to suit him nicely to at the beginning and the middle and the end of the game with these cards. We'll see what Gerschenson has got to say about that as a Dismal Backwater opens things up on his side of the field, going up to 21 after a Sandstep Citadel. Here's Llanowar Waste.
And now draws one of the best cards in this matchup. Anafenza doesn't die to Bile Blight, does die to other removal spells, but still a very good threat to have on turn 3. Cannot be countered on turn 3 by a Dissolve, cannot be countered by Disdainful Stroke, so one of the best cards in this matchup, I think.
Second, second Dismal Backwater, buffering Immanuel Gerschenson's life total up to 22 now, although the cat on the battlefield might have something to say about that, and yes, indeed, it does meow. In it comes 2 damage for Gerschenson, and curving out nicely with an Anafenza the Foremost, as you mentioned, Marine, a card that might have something to say, chucking some punches around.
We've seen game 1.
Yep.
Like, this was exactly the draw from Pierre Sommen in game 1, if I remember correctly. There might have been a Thoughtseize involved in that one, but this can go very quickly. If Immanuel Gerschenson has the reactive end once again, and it seems like he's not having a lot of remove, he does have to silence the Believers, but apart from that, I don't see any removal or board sweepers. So I'm not sure how this will fare for Immanuel Gerschenson. He does have Ashiok, which can buy him like a turn, but it's not going to win him the game.
I don't like the Ashioks here. And on the draw against such a deck, the most threatening draws of your opponent, the Ashiok is almost worthless against.
Yeah, he does hit the cat now, so Fleecemane Lion goes underneath at 5, so Pierre Sommen kind of has to attack it. But he knows that he's got at least one more turn before Crux of Fate comes online. And I think he's going to deploy another threat and kill the Ashiok, or at least put the Ashiok at 1.
Or just hit Gerschenson for 7, that's also not bad. I mean, are you that scared of the Fleecemane Lion?
Give him a free Fleecemane Lion?
It's not free.
It is free, right? You -2 loyalty, so you put it into play, you don't have to pay the mana cost. Isn't that the definition of free?
Okay, if you're just talking about mana.
1-1 to Marine. His Courser of Crufix reveals a Wingmate Rock at the top of the deck.
And he is gonna kill the Ashiok. He gives Immanuel a lot of time now, though. He misses a lot of damage. I think I would have gone for attack with the 4/4 on the Ashiok and deal 3 to him, and then next turn he will tick it up to 3 and then attack it for 3 or something. But then
these spots are the most difficult things about modern Magic. If Gerschenson passes with that much mana, maybe even plays an Urborg, and then you're suddenly in a position where you can only make mistakes. So I think if you want to prevent your opponent from getting value off of Ashiok, then you have to bite the bullet and accept the fact that it's going to soak up 7 damage there.
Even with the Courser of Crufix in play, the Frenchman Sommen unable to find his 3rd land.
But it attacks
for 2. 4th land, I should say. But it does indeed attack for 2, so it's getting it done.
And crucially here is the ability of Sommen to also hold up the regeneration mana for Crux of Fate, which certainly doesn't matter if Silence the Believers takes it out here.
That looks to be exactly what's going to happen here. Regeneration no good in the face of a card that's going to exile it. So instead we have Anafenza the Foremost and Courser of Crufix rumbling across the red zone and delivering Immanuel Gerschenson a bit of pugilistic fury, taking him down to 16 life.
And Gerschenson might take the game if Crux of Fate resolves and Sommen is stuck on 3 lands. He now can't play anything if he wants to play around Crux of Fate.
It looks like he's got a Fleece main line in his hand. Is that correct? That committing that to the board at this stage would be disastrous in the face of the Roth from Fate Reforged.
Could be a Rakshasa Death Dealer. I think it's a gold 2-drop, but I don't know what it is.
Moraine?
Yeah, it's a Rakshasa Death Dealer, but I don't think he can commit anything anymore. And I actually saw, I think I saw a Crux of Fate in the hands of Immanuel Gerschenson. It's just kind of unfortunate that Pierre Sommen didn't draw a Thoughtseize here, because that would have given him the perfect information. He knows he's not drawing a land. He kind of needs to hit a land of the Courser of Krufix on the next turn.
But he isn't expecting the Courser to live.
But he's got a second copy waiting in the wings.
Here's
There
Crux
we
of
see
Fate.
the Courser of the Crux of Fate.
Destroying all non-dragon creatures, you'd assume. And indeed, that is what happens. So, he draws his Hero's Downfall. The second Courser. Here we go, as Moraine said.
This is an important flip.
What's on the top? Is he going to hit a land? He does not.
That's
does
crucial.
not.
Now Immanuel Gerschenson might have a removal spell. Seems like he doesn't have a removal spell, but this buys him so much time. This is not looking good for Pierre Sommen.
A Dissolve entering the hand of Gerschenson as well. We can see in his hand a Pearl-like Ancient.
And again, no land. Despite running 25 lands, which is quite a lot for an aggro deck, he's not hitting the lands. 25 plus 4 Courser of Krufix. You would expect to hit your lands on time, but yeah.
Or even find an Abzan charm. I think that would have already done a great job.
In comes the Courser of Krufix across, undoing the work done by the Radiant Fountain. Immanuel Gerschenson down to 16.
Yeah, and Pierre Sommen now probably regretting that mulligan decision with the triple Thoughtseize in game 2. But nothing to be done about that. He's got to play his game and hope that this will be all right. But it's not looking good. Immanuel Gerschenson, he's going to resolve a Jace's Ingenuity, or might even counter the Rakshasa's Dead Dealer. I mean, if he can leave Pierre Sommen with just a Courser of Krufix, it's looking pretty good too.
Going bigger and harder than the Jace's Ingenuity. It is in fact dig through time. So here we are, 7 cards. Let's have a look and take the 2 that we like. Some call it the new Fact or Fiction. I've heard it compared to Demonic Tutor. It is a hell of a draw spell though. What's he looking at? I can see a couple of lands there. It looks like a Disdainful Stroke as well. Gerschenson carefully considering his options as he consults the grip once again. I'm going to make sure again he makes the right decision with this dig through time. Time isn't against him in resolving this spell. Looks like he's going to take another dig through time. And Atasiga's in the mix there. He can take that if he likes. Jace's Ingenuity as well, I can see.
I thought that he also had a Jace's Ingenuity in hand, so maybe he's really just looking for lands to get that Pearl-like Ancient onto the battlefield. His opponent is far enough behind.
So there we go. Decision has been made. We think one last consultation with the grip. Certainly taking his time with this one. It's a slow excavation. Away they go. Untaps. Draws a card. Adds it to the grip. So there's a swamp. So the swamp was taken off the dig through time.
Yeah, I think Gerschenson just wanted to make absolutely sure that he had land drops, especially the 7th one, and was willing to use a dig through time to get there.
There is a land at long last for Pierre Sommen, a Caves of Coiler sitting on the top of his library. So that can come into play thanks to the Courser of Krufix, and indeed it does. Gains a life.
And Immanuel Gerschenson, he hasn't found a single removal spell. Despite playing that dig through time, he is only having counters and another dig through time in hand. Kind of surprises me. Did he just not opt to take them, or there were none in the top 7? Given how much he has in the deck, it's hard to believe that he didn't find a single one.
No, I think he just opted not to take them, relying on his card draw spells to find him the mass removal that he wants at this stage of the game. I wouldn't be surprised to just see him draw 3 here, and then maybe find the perilous vault that he wants to find. He could even use his mana most efficiently and drop a Pearl Lake Ancient.
Yeah, but Pearl Lake Ancient, when your opponent has revealed 2 copies of Hero's Downfall, is not the best thing. He's never going to time walk himself there. I think that would be a poor decision, especially since he doesn't want to return lands neither, because he needs all of his mana if he wants to start drawing cards and dig for answers.
Here's 5 mana and Jace's Ingenuity. Draw 3, 1, 2, and 3.
I was kind of surprised by the sequencing. Dig Through Time first and then the Jace's Ingenuity. I would think that you would want to draw 3 first, and then later, when you know what you're missing, you dig through time for the right cards.
That's a great point there, and that dig through time has actually drawn him into a Crux of Fate. Doesn't do a whole lot against the Rakshasa Death Dealer at this point.
Okay, so Sommen actually has an Abzan Charm on top of his library. If the Corsair is allowed to live and there is a land on top of Sommen's deck, then the Planeswalkers come out to play as well. Then there will be a Liliana.
Yeah, but Immanuel Gerschenson, he's ready for everything that comes at him. He just needs to handle the things that are already at the board. He's got enough counters, right?
Ashiok has been invited to the party and arrives. Up we go with the Planeswalker from Theros, 1, 2, and 3. So there was indeed a land hiding away under that Abzan Charm. But no creatures for Ashiok to weave into being.
Immanuel is at 11. He's got to be careful here. He has to find the answer for that Rakshasa Death Dealer, and he doesn't have all that many. How many? He's got two copies of Perilous Vault, I think.
There's Hero's Downfall.
1 copy of Silence of Believers, but that's not even helping. Like, he's already played that one.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting him to Bile Blight the Rakshasa Death Dealer when Sommen tapped out to Hero's Downfall, but that's clearly not his plan here.
He doesn't have it. He's got Crux of Fate, Dissolve, Pearl Lake Ancient, Dig Through Time. He doesn't have this Bile Blight.
Okay, so he has to find it with another Dig Through Time then.
Move to attacks. In they come. 4 more damage. What has Gerschenson got to say about that?
I'm not sure I agree actually with Hero's Downfall on the Ashiok. It wasn't doing anything, and you put an extra card in the graveyard for Dig Through Time. I'm not sure you wanted to do that. I think you'd rather keep your Hero's Downfall for the cards that really matter.
Yeah, this is one of these spots where you're constantly pressured in your mana and you really want to do something. And yeah, it's not clear if that was really what Sommen needed to do there.
It's hard to imagine Immanuel Gerschenson once again failing to find anything crucial with his Dig Through Time. Ugin is good, Bile Blight is, well, double Bile Blight is good, his Perilous Vault is good. He's got a lot of draws here.
Silence the Believers?
Here's another Dig Through Time.
He's played his only copy of Silence the Believers.
So Dig Through Time, as you were mentioning, is going to give him a little bit of selection here and enable him to find the answers that he's looking for, as we see 7 cards splayed out in front. Let's have a look and see what he's got.
Here we have a Hero's Downfall, but I don't see an Ugin. Nope, and I don't see a Perilous Vault. This game is very close.
Yeah, it's possible that Gerschenson is forced once again to find more answers, to look for more answers with another Dig Through Time. The question is if he has the time.
Yeah, but this one is going to be for 8 mana, and if Pierre Sommen actually starts pumping his Rakshasa Death Dealer, he has to try and kill it.
But Gerschenson has 3 cards in his graveyard.
Oh yeah, so it's for 5. And he could even fire off the Hero's Downfall first to kill the 2/4.
Could also just see if Sommen maybe... oh no, he didn't draw the Abzan Charm. Okay, never mind. I was thinking that Sommen could be enticed to maybe tap out for something at the end of turn.
So the end of GP Seville drawing ever closer as these 2 gentlemen resolve the final game in the tournament. Gerschenson all the way down to 7 now. Sommen back up to 16. Gained a little bit of life off the temple, as well as The scry going on there as Gerschenson scries himself with a Temple of Deceit. He's got a full hand, passes the turn back. Sommen, not interested in spending any mana, untaps, draws a card. He's got a Courser of Krufix in his hand and another one sitting on top of his deck. Hasn't been hitting those land drops, Moran.
The top of his deck has not been good for him. If he would have hit a couple of more lands, he would have been able to use Rakshasa Death Dealer a lot more. He would have been able to maybe resolve a Planeswalker. Yeah, the top of his deck has not been very good. I think actually this matchup is pretty good for him because he's got a lot of threats which are hard to handle for Immanuel Gerschenson, but he's not having the best draws here.
Yeah, and because of the lack of mana, you can't do things like overcommit while keeping up 2 mana to regenerate a Rakshasa Death Dealer, like he tried the first time that the board was swept. He's still in a great position considering how little he's done, but yeah, this is definitely favoring Gerschenson.
Gerschenson down to 3 if he takes this hit.
Ooh, he's gonna hit the bullet and gonna try and pump the Rakshasa Death Dealer.
There's a pump. Is there a response? Hero's downfall.
He's gonna regenerate now, I guess.
So now the shields are down.
Takes 2 and he fires off another dig through time. So very close game. If he finds Cracks of Fate, then he can sweep the board. If he once again bricks on the dig through time, he's actually dead next turn.
Does he not have a Crux of Fate in his hand?
I don't think so. But he's got a lot of outs. He's got Ugin, he's got Bile Blight, Hero's Downfall. He's got basically half his deck, and he's seen a lot of the cards already.
I think he has a Crux of Fate in his hand.
Well, he's got Ugin and Peril's Vault there, together with Hero's Downfall and Bile Blight.
So answers for days from Gerschenson. That's the dig through time that he was wanting. He's finally struck gold. All that digging finally got to whatever he's looking for. Away go the 5. Gerschenson untaps, draws a card. Let's see what he can find.
I think... Oh, he does have the Crux of Fate, yeah.
There is the Crux of Fate. My elven eyes have not deceived me, and away go the Corsair and the Cat.
And now he's even able to keep up Dissolve. He could play Ashok, but I wouldn't recommend that, because then his opponent is just going to play some more threats once again. Maybe, can he go for the Ashok, Simon?
No, I don't think he can. He really does not want to have certain cards resolve here, and Pierre Sommen has boarded in all these Planeswalkers that Gerschenson has to be respecting here. It's possible if he has a Disdainful Stroke that he just risks it, but then if Sommen drops 2 cheap cards, he might be under too much pressure again. I don't really like the Ashok anyway on the draw here. On the other hand, this is now super close, and I would really like to see some Sea Tyrannos, but we know that they are not in Sommen's deck anymore.
Courser of Krufix the play, revealing a Thoughtseize off the top of his library. Sommen again starved on lands. And here's a Rakshasa Death Dealer.
Yeah, but now Immanuel is going to play the Ugin, and will he have Dissolve mana up after that? Because that way he could protect it from dying to Hero's Downfall, and then I think the game's pretty much over.
Yes, he will. With that swamp there, he now has 11 lands in play. So that will indeed open up that line that you just mentioned, Moran, with the 8-cost Ugin, enabling him to keep up 3 mana for the Dissolve. Things are getting very close here. Gerschenson hits the tank, having a good think about what he's about to do. Brings the Ugin to the front of his hand and then pushes it back. Back up to the front, and once again to the back. More news as it comes to hand.
He might be debating what to do exactly with the Ugin. The -3 is the obvious play. You might want to think about +2ing the Rakshasa Death Dealer if you are, for example, absolutely sure that you aren't dying to Sea Tyrannos.
Here, once again, is the Ugin, the Spirit Dragon.
And now he's going to play Ashok? Oh, he wants to get rid of the Thoughtseize. That's why he's playing the Ashok here. He wants to get rid of the Thoughtseize. But this way his Ugin is going to die to Hero's Downfall. So that's not perfect either.
But that's not the end of the world, is it? You get the Ashok in return, and if Pierre actually downfalls this turn, he is not doing anything else.
Except for maybe digging for lands with Abzan Charm.
Abzan Charm, draw 2, hope for an untapped land.
I think he has to. He has to be greedy at this point.
That's my style of Magic.
Like Bloodbraid Elf into Lightning?
Similar.
Yeah.
So Gerschenson with 2 Planeswalkers online. We've seen the Spirit Dragon throwing punches around GP Seville the entire weekend. And is it going to be the card that carries him to victory alongside the Planeswalker from Theros in Ashiok, the Nightmare Weaver? Sommen hits the tank. He's got 5 mana. He's got a handful of very powerful cards, but not the time and the resources needed to deploy them all. Consults the grip, consults the yard, consults the exile zone. Certainly seeking out all the information he can find before making a decision.
It's unbelievable how few lands he's drawn this game. After, I mean, this is 20, 25 turns, he's still on 5 mana. Despite running 25 lands and having that 2/4 Courser of Krufix in play for such a long time.
There goes the Spirit Dragon. That hero has had a downfall.
Pierre Sommen, not a gambler, it
No,
seems.
with the conservative line.
I don't think you can take the conservative line when you're that far behind.
Ashiok, the Nightmare Weaver, threatening an activation here. Here's a Bloodstained Mire. Another land from Gerschenson. He certainly hasn't had any trouble in that regard. Up goes the Weaver. 1, 2, and 3 threads.
Tutu Vanilla guy for Immanuel Gerschenson. By sideboarding out the Rhinos, you make Ashok a little bit worse. Now he's at 4. Imagine 2 Rhinos hitting play here.
Not that he's on 4 rather than 5.
Does he have 1 left? Because he should have
Thoughtseize the draw.
4, right? Yeah, he's got 1 left.
Thoughtseize off the top for Sommen. Still not another land. Here it is. Very powerful sorcery, proven its worth time and time again. Let's see what Gerschenson has to say about it. We can flash in an Ancient in response.
The problem is if he flashes in Ancient in response, then Pierre Sommen can Absent Charm, and then he has to return it, and then it will still get taken by the Thoughtseize.
So, Dissolve taking care of the Thoughtseize. Another Courser of Krufix. Is that the 4th?
He's got 3 in the main deck, 1 in the side, and he did bring in the 4th one, so that's certainly possible.
And still no 6th land for Sommen. I don't know how many cards he has seen this game, but he hasn't managed to cobble together his mana base. There is the Pearl Lake Ancient. Unafraid of the Abzan Charm now that Sommen has tapped out. 2 hits from the Pearl Lake Ancient will seal the deal for Gerschenson, assuming that there isn't too much life gain on the side of his opponent. The same can be said, almost, for the Courser of Krufix, but Gerschenson going up to 5, thanks to the dismal backwater he's just played. In comes the Serpent.
Pierre has
the
to take
Leviathan, I should say.
Is it a Leviathan?
It is a Leviathan.
It's certainly a strong Leviathan.
It is unaffected by Whelming Wave in any case, any way you slice it. In comes the Vanilla Tutu as well. Rakshasa Death Dealer being woven into being by Ashiok, the Nightmare Weaver.
Still no land. Unbelievable.
Fleecemane Lion on the top of Sommen's deck. Very unfortunate for him to have had to fight through such adverse circumstances. That Elspeth has been there for a very, very long time, rotting away in his hand. In comes the Courser.
It's funny how Immanuel Gerschenson is at 5 thanks to the dismal backwater, and it matters. He could have put 2 counters on the Courser of Krufix, and Immanuel Gerschenson actually has no answer to that. That would be quite funny, but thanks to the dismal backwaters, he gained himself 1 more life, and he doesn't have to chum block with the Dead Dealer now.
Gerschenson still thinking about it as the Centaur rumbles across the battlefield. A little bit of calculation in the head of Gerschenson.
I think Pierre Sommen is hoping that his wing weight rock will resolve with that attack, but we know that there's a disdainful stroke waiting actually, and then Pierre Sommen's pretty much dead. But it's...
Pierre Sommen could also just prevent damage to him with Abzan Charm if he goes to exile the Pearling Ancient, but he has no way to deal that last 3 points. Maybe his only out is hoping that a top deck Siege Rhino would resolve, but if that would resolve, then you can just try for the Wing Weight Rock as well.
Yeah, and the Wing Weight Rock actually wins him the game in 2 turns. So it's certainly a reasonable line to go for that. But Immanuel Gerschenson has been holding 2 cards for a very long time. You could make out like he would play removal spells, he would play anything but Disdainful Stroke. Yeah, and there we see the handshake.
That is that. There we go, my friends. That is the end of GP Seville. Congratulations indeed to our champion Immanuel Gerschenson, managing to go all the way with blue-black control.